Today is the 1st of November, and I want to provide some tips around macOS. So we're going to start off with the Finder. I want to show some things that you can do inside of the Finder, and the rest of this month we'll have other tips and tricks just about macOS, but how they relate to Final Cut Pro. So here we are in Final Cut Pro 10, and I can see in my browser I have some clips. This was a day at Six Flags, and you can see right here I have two clips that they look fine, but they're rotated. They're on their side. They shouldn't look like this. So yes, I could add this clip to a project and then rotate it in the project in the timeline, but there's no reason for me to have this clip as it looks here where it's kind of shot sideways. So I'm actually going to correct this original clip so that inside of Final Cut, we see the correct thing. And then we don't have to worry about rotating or adding any changes later on. So to do that, I'm going to right click, or if you don't have a mouse, you can hold Control and click on the clip. You can also just press with two fingers on a trackpad. And there's an option here that says Reveal in Finder. You can also use the shortcut Shift-Command-R. When you do this, it shows us the clip inside a Finder window. And I'm actually going to click on Final Cut and quit Final Cut and just focus here on the Finder. So we're going to cover some other features of the Finder later this month in another video. But for now, I want to show you Quick Look, which is a way to preview content quickly, just like the name suggests. So to do a Quick Look, all you have to do is press the space bar on your keyboard. And there it is. Let me turn down the volume. I'm just going to hit the mute button here. So when you press the space bar, you can see a quick look of that video. And that's really cool. I can hit the space bar to close that preview. Then we'll go to the next clip. I'm just using the down arrow to navigate to the next clip. And same thing, I'll hit the space bar to preview that. I'm going to mute the speaker here so we don't have to hear the volume there. And there we go. We're able to preview and quick look this video. Now, this is something you could always do in the previous version and going back a couple versions of macOS. But what's new inside of macOS Mojave is the ability to apply quick actions. So in this case, at the top of this, here's one of the quick actions, which is rotate. So I can just click on this rotate. I actually have to click it 2 times here to switch over so it's the correct orientation. I'm then going to use the arrow up. I don't even have to leave Quick Look to go back to the other clip here, and I'll click the rotate button a couple times to rotate and correct that clip. Now it's in the correct orientation. If I leave that clip, I can select it, and now you can see it's playing in the correct orientation, which is great. All through quick actions using the Quick Look capability. And one thing I want to point out too, these quick actions are also available below the clip on the preview here that's on the right side. And that's something you can turn on or off. So if you go up to the view menu, you have a couple different views, but there's an option here to show or hide the preview. So if I hide the preview, it's no longer there on the right. But in most cases, I recommend going to view and saying show preview. And that way you'll get those quick actions along the bottom here, and you can click more to customize what actions are available, and this will actually take you into system preferences so you can customize these and install more if you get those and put more on there. But really for video, the big ones are rotate and then trim. So you could trim the clips to eliminate them, and I'll just show you what this looks like. If I hit the space bar to quick look it, here's the trim button. If I press that, we now get at the bottom a little area so you could trim the clip and actually cut out some of the video. I don't recommend trimming for the most part just because that is destructive editing. You are actually losing video when you do that. Whereas when you're editing with Final Cut Pro, it's non-destructive because you're not actually modifying the original clips. However, if we switch back here to Final Cut Pro, we'll scroll up to those clips. You can now see both of those clips are updated in Final Cut. I did not have to do anything else. All I did was use the quick actions in the Finder, thanks to macOS Mojave, to rotate those. The one other piece of information I want to provide in this video is how you can get information about a clip. So very similar here, I could select these clips, and on the right side, we do have all the information for those clips. We can see the frame rate and a really good amount of information. However, if I right click or control click, same thing, I'm going to say reveal in Finder again, and I'm actually done with Final Cut, so I'm going to close that. You can get some significant information about any clip or folder that's selected just by pressing Command I on the keyboard. So Command I brings up the information about that clip. All these little categories, you can hit the disclosure triangle to open or close. We can see the original name of the file, the extension. You can even add comments and lock these files if you need to using this little info window. But here's the big reason I show this, because you can see things like kind, and that information is nice and helpful. But one thing that happened, and this happened to someone else earlier today, I did the Final Cut Pro Help live stream earlier today, and then I got some comments on Instagram with someone who was having an issue because they went into their titles and generators sidebar, and they couldn't see a new title that they had added and installed onto their computer. And I have actually done this. I've installed a title, and I can't see it here in Final Cut. So let's go back to the Finder. And these titles should be in your home folder. So if we go back here, here's the home folder, which is just got my username. And if I click on the movies folder, there's a motion templates folder. And inside of this, we see a titles folder. And inside of that, we actually have two of these. This one is an empty one. I'm going to delete that with Command Delete. But inside this templates folder, there's this tilted text title. And this is just a category, and here's the actual title. And there's my title lit up. But if you notice inside of Final Cut, it's not showing up there. And here's the reason. If you have motion, everything should install correctly and create these folders called motion templates and then titles. But let's get information about these folders. Again, I'm going to use Command I to get information. You could also use the little action menu here and choose Get Info. And notice here, in the Finder, we don't see anything, but in the information window, we can see motion templates .localized. So if I do the same thing for the generators folder, Command I, generators .localized. So it needs this .localized for Final Cut to see it. And normally, with motion installed, it'll add that automatically. But let's take a look at the titles folder here. Command I, and here we can see the problem. It's just called titles. There's not this .localized extension at the end of it. So I'm going to add .localized to the title folder, and pretty much that's it. Well, we shouldn't have to do anything else here with that folder. We can switch between these. We'll see if it comes up. Yeah, it's not showing it just yet, so usually for speed's sake, I'll quit and relaunch Final Cut Pro to see if it updates. In some cases, we'll actually have to restart the computer for it to show up. But notice now, here's the tilted text, and I can see here's my tilted text title. So that's where using the Finder, and specifically the feature that allows you to get information about items, and you can use the shortcut Command I or use File and then Get Info as a really helpful feature to correct things. So that's the macOS Mojave tip for today. If you haven't updated just yet, we're still on 10.14, the initial release, but I haven't found any issues that have been stopping or critical. So it's a really great version, and I'd recommend updating on a partition just to be safe. But so far, Final Cut, Motion, all the primary apps work really well. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. As always, keep a backup, and we're going to cover some more tips throughout the month of November about macOS Mojave and how they relate to Final Cut Pro 10. If there's something specific you would like to see, send an email to finalcutprohelp@me.com or leave a comment below, and I'd be happy to answer that. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one.